Hey guys, I'm Sarah. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a recent reads video. As always, all my reviews for these books are linked down in the description below, so if you want further content or thoughts that I may have forgotten to mention in this video, yeah, feel free to check those out down below. I will say I've read some of these books quite a while ago, so my details on some of them might be a bit fuzzy. I might not give the clearest context to them all. I apologize for that, but I kind of got behind on things and I'm sort of in this weird creative block anyways, which kind of makes me not want to do things sometimes. So yeah, I apologize for that, but without further ado, we're going to just jump right in. I'm going to go over a lot of the ones that I just don't have a ton to say about first. The first book I'm going to be talking about is Celtic Tales. This is a collection of different types of fairy tales and folklore from Ireland, Wales, and Brittany, I think those were the only three. Pretty sure. If I'm incorrect about that, I apologize. I just don't remember. But anyways, yeah, this is just a collection of fairy tales and folklore and stuff from those areas, and I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. I liked some of the stories better than others. That's typical of fairy tales or anthology type books anyways, but yeah, I really like this. I really want to learn more about Irish fairy tales and stuff like that because I've always been very fascinated with Ireland. I also have ancestry in Ireland as well, so it's kind of cool to learn about a bit of my culture. So yeah, I really enjoyed these, and I've been getting more into reading legends and fairy tales and stuff like that anyways, so this was a step in that direction, and yeah, really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. Okay, the next one I'm going to talk about is The Goose Girl by Brittany Fisher. This is a short story you get when you sign up for her author newsletter. She has a whole bunch of freebies, and this is one of them. Basically, in this one, it is a retelling of The Goose Girl, obviously. And yeah, it's very short. I can't say a ton about it. It's pretty much just a short story. But yeah, basically, it follows the basic storyline of the Goose Girl, where this princess basically gets hijacked on her way to her, to wed her betrothed by her handmaid, and they switch places, and the handmaid pretends to be her and makes the princess her handmaid, basically by force and use of magic and stuff. So yeah, and basically it's just her journey. I forget I think her name is Evany, I believe was the main character's name. She, yeah, is just trying the whole time to get her betrothed to recognize her and stuff. And yeah, it's a very short story, so I can't really say much about it, but I really enjoyed this one, as per usual for Brittany Fisher's works. I gave it 4 stars, mainly because I think she does better with longer books. This one, yeah, it didn't feel rushed, but short stories are a little harder to judge, with a writer's style or whatever. So yeah, but I really enjoyed this. I liked how parts of it were told in letters that she and her betrothed had been sending back and forth to each other their whole lives. So I really liked that addition because it kind of just added some depth to their relationship without them having to be together, which they kind of aren't for most of the book. So yeah, really enjoyed that one, and I thought it was really sweet and cute. Next one I'm going to talk about, actually the next 2, because they are kind of part of the same series. The first one is Pumpkin Spice by Jinx. This is by Selena J. Eckert. I don't know if I'm saying the author's name correctly. This is an ebook I have. It is basically a Hansel and Gretel retelling. It is kind of set, well, first of all, the story is about Reese. She is a pie witch. Basically, she's a witch with magic who can add magic to her pies and stuff like that, and she's trying to enter this baking contest to hopefully, get more funds so she can keep her small business going. And a fae court has moved into town, or at least a fae prince has moved into town to set up an autumn court there, and these weird things keep going on because these 2 sprites keep bothering her and making things crazy for her. They turn her house into a gingerbread house. That's where the whole Hansel and Gretel thing comes in, and it's just kind of chaos. I did enjoy it for the most part. I gave it 3.5 stars. It was a little slow in some parts because it is a prequel to the author's sort of urban fantasy cozy mystery series, which I'll talk about in a minute, but yeah, it is kind of a prequel to that while also being a fairy tale retelling. So yeah, so sometimes I felt it was a little slow. Thankfully the book is very short. It's a novella, so it's pretty short. I think it's like 9 chapters total, but yeah, that kind of brought down my enjoyment of it. Was just sometimes it dragged a tiny bit before it picked back up again. But there were some cute moments. There were some nice moments. So I enjoyed it. It definitely had the overall fall vibes. So if you're looking for that in a book, this one would be a great one to try because yeah, it definitely had fall vibes. I was feeling that even though when I was reading it, it wasn't fall yet. So yeah, I really enjoyed it for that. Yeah, then I tried the first novel of this. I forget what I think it's the Pie Jinx Mysteries. I forget what the series is called, but the very first book in that cozy mystery series, that Pumpkin Spice Pie Jinx, is a prequel for, and that is Vanilla Bean Vampire. I'm pretty sure it was like 25% of the way in to this book, and I DNF'd it. Mainly because it is like I said before, it's a cozy mystery, and I have found I don't like those. It's way more on the cozy end than on the mystery end, which I was kind of hoping for a balance of the two, but it seems to be, I think I read like 6 chapters, and we still hadn't really gotten to the mystery part of it yet. There were like some hints, and that was just about it, but I didn't feel very connected to the characters. Yeah, for me, it just wasn't a good book. For people who like cozy mysteries and kind of want a magical flair to it, this would be a perfect book for you because, yeah, I could see a lot of people liking this because it is well written. I just didn't because I found I just don't like fluff type stories, I guess if you want to call it that. Yeah, I just don't vibe with that at all, and this book just wasn't for me, so I quit. But I would say other people will probably really enjoy this, especially if you already like cozy mysteries, so I would still recommend checking it out. It just wasn't for me, and if you're like me and you don't like cozy mysteries, you might just want to pass this one. Okay, since I'm hopping around everywhere, I hope I don't lose track. Okay, I'm going to talk about a book I actually have to hold up now, and I reread King of the Wind by Marguerite Henry. This is a classic horse story about the Godolphin Arabian named Sham, who basically he's one of the 3 horses who founded the thoroughbred breed, and yeah, this is his story. It's very basic. It's a children's classic. I gave it 4 stars. This was a favorite of mine when I was younger. I read it all the time, and I still really enjoyed it. I get a kick out of it. This edition I have, it's like $150. I bought it for 25 cents from my childhood library's book sale, so I got it for even cheaper. But anyways, but yeah, I still really enjoyed the story. I still think it holds up really well, and that's pretty much all I have to say about it. Okay, and the next book that I have, which I pretty much read this for a while as kind of like my devotional book, so I'm just going to throw it in here. I don't really have a ton to say, but that is Jesus Freaks by DC Talk and the Voice of the Martyrs. This is just various stories about Christian martyrs from around the world and their stories and their testimonials and stuff, and just, it's a very powerful book. There's multiple editions of this book now, because this one was the very first one. It was published in like 1989, I believe. They've done several reiterations since then, and I would highly recommend picking up any of them if you really want to be encouraged in your faith and just overall just seeing what people will do to stand up for Jesus' name and just how we should do the same. And yeah, this is a great, very inspiring book. I love it. I gave it 5 stars, and yeah, I would highly recommend it. I'm just going to talk about this manga series that I've started, and that is, I've read volumes 1 through 3 of Demon Slayer. This is obviously the start of a manga series, and basically in it we follow Tanjiro. He is just living with his family in the mountains. He goes away to sell some coal that they make to make money for his family. When he returns, his entire family was slaughtered by this demon, and the only survivor is his younger sister Nezuko, but the problem is she's been turned into a demon as well. So his only option of saving her is to join the Demon Slayer Corps, I believe they're called. I think that's the correct name. Basically, he trains to fight demons and get rid of them in hopes that he can find the demon who turned his sister, and he can then ask this demon how to turn her back into a human. And yeah, that is basically the whole plot of the story. Like I said, I've only gotten 3 volumes in. Okay, my overall thoughts, first of all, I want to clarify demon in this story is they're more like vampires. They're not like biblical demons at all. Like, they fear sunlight. Sunlight will burn them, it like vaporizes them. They basically suck blood, but they also eat flesh too, so that's where they differ a bit from vampires and stuff like that. So with all that in mind, this manga series is a little bit more gory, so to speak. It's not really like gore, but there is a lot of blood, there is a lot of violence. I would say there's a lot of creepy, gross looking demons, so I would say if you're very sensitive to things like that, don't read the series because you'll have nightmares. But yeah, I have very conflicting opinions on this. I like Tanjiro. He's a very strong character. He's just definitely doing the right thing, and he even has compassion towards these demons at certain points throughout the series that just really adds depth to this. Otherwise, you know, like head-whacking fighting series that it could be, it adds depth to it, that he has compassion for these demons that he still kills because they're threatening humanity, but it's like he also recognizes they were once humans too, and I really like that. I love his and Nezuko's bond as siblings because obviously she doesn't die as a demon, and she kind of starts helping him fight them as well, so there's that dynamic in there. It's kind of the art style is weird. I'll say that. I can't quite tell if the mangaka was trying to go for gritty or funny. It's kind of a weird mesh of the two, and it doesn't really come off very well. I personally don't like the art style of Demon Slayer. Yeah, I heard before from a friend that it starts out a little wonky and it kind of gets better as it goes on, but so the art style doesn't really stick with me very well, and there are things I like about this series, like I said before, about like Tanjiro and the deeper elements with like the demons and stuff and him having compassion on him and stuff, but there are things I don't like. Like in the very first volume, there's this one scene where a hatchet is thrown, but it's like used like a boomerang. It's really weird. It's like basically the whole gist is like he threw it and then he went like behind a tree and then dodged at this guy. Okay, that normally works, except bizarrely for him to do that he would have had to throw the hatchet like a boomerang and it would have had to go away and then come back. Hatchets don't work like that when you throw them. I've never thrown a hatchet, but I know for certain they don't work like boomerangs. And so that was weird. And then another volume, I think it was volume 3, Tanjiro's like running around supposedly on a broken leg, and then he's like fighting demons on a broken leg, and it's like, that's not even possible. Like, I mean, he has some broken ribs too, but it's just like, okay, you can fight if you need to with broken ribs. Yeah, it's hard, but you can do it. You can't do it with a broken leg. And so there's weird things like that come in. I'm not that fond of 2 characters that have been introduced in volume 3 either. One is extremely whiny and screams all the time. I've heard he gets better, but I don't remember his name. But I've heard he gets better and that he gets less annoying, but so far I'm not convinced. And the other guy is just like trigger happy, and yeah, I don't know what to think about him yet either. So yeah, I have conflicting opinions about this series. I've given all 3 volumes I've read so far 3 stars. And so far, yeah, I'm willing to give it a few more volumes because sometimes manga starts out really slow. Anime has this issue too, where sometimes it just starts really slow and you kind of have to get into it a bit before it's like, oh, okay, I get this and I like it now. But, so I'm going to give it a few more volumes, but if it still keeps up this weird stuff like that and these characters still really annoy me, I may quit the series. But like I said, I'm going to give it at least 2 or 4 more volumes, something like that. So it's not a very long series, so I want to give it a decent chance. So yeah, that is my thoughts so far on Demon Slayer. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I gave all 3 volumes 3 stars each. So yeah, I'm kind of just like, we're going to wait and see. And yeah, we'll see how I go from there. Okay, the next book I'm going to talk about is is Stolen Mayfly Bride by Sarah K.L. Wilson. This is a fantasy romance. It's like obviously it's a Fae story. It was part of the Stolen Brides of the Fae series. That series no longer exists, but it did used to be in that series where it was just different takes on Stolen Brides of Fae. That means it's in the title. But this one, I'm not fully sure how to describe this book. Even the back cover blurb is very mysterious, kind of, so I'm not gonna try to describe this book. Because even when you read the blurb, you don't really know what's going on. So I think it's best to go into this book almost blind, which I normally don't do with books. I like to know at least somewhat what they're about. But this one is just so out there that I don't really know how to describe it. So I'm not going to try. Just know it involves Fae. It involves a human that's been turned immortal, and she's like a seer, and she only comes alive like once a year, and it's basically their romance over a period of time. It's very interesting. This is my first book by this author, and I do like her writing style. It's kind of poetic, but it's not so much that you don't know what's going on. Some of her lines, I did notice I was losing myself because it was like too much poetic type style, so some of the things in there I kind of got lost on. But she also writes with a straightforward bent, so it's kind of like poetic but simple poetry. That doesn't really make sense, but it's really hard to describe her writing style. So yeah, and basically in this we follow these two characters, and they just fall in love over this period of years. And what really got me the most about this book was how it portrayed, definitely just showing two very broken individuals finding love. And I got a lot of encouragement from that. I literally read this in a day because I just constantly wanted to know what was going on and stuff. And the cover is gorgeous. Yeah, I had to throw that in there. But yeah, I just really like the fact of just showing these two broken people falling in love and just being accepted for who they are, and that's okay, and they were, loved because of that instead of like in spite of that. And I really like the message behind it. Beyond them falling in love, there's not much of a plot. Some things are very, especially around the main female character, her seerhood, how she became a seer, that's all very murky. Pretty much more the Fae Lord that she falls in love with, he's more the main character than she is. I mean, also, she only wakes up once every like 100 years or something like that. It's really kind of weird. But but yeah. So, you have a little bit more time with him because, he's like alive for more longer, but for much longer, not more longer, whatever. But yeah, I still really enjoyed this book. It's just very hard to describe, and I think it's best if you go in blind to it. But yeah, if you like a different type of poetic style writing with like a Fae human romance, I would recommend checking it out. I'm definitely going to check out more books by this author, and hopefully I'll find one that I really like more. But yeah, I mean, I still really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars, but yeah, I'm curious to see how she does with longer books, because with the novellas, you're limited to a very small time frame, or like page count and word count and stuff. So sometimes if authors do better with like longer books, sometimes their shorter books will feel like something was cut off or whatever. So yeah, but she did this really well, so I'm very curious to see what her longer books are like. Okay, I'm going to talk about this book first since I don't have it with me. And I love this book. That is My Las Vegas Airman by Brittany Fisher. This is the 3rd book in the, what's the series called? My Air Force Fairy Tale series? I'm pretty sure that's the series name. I apologize if that's incorrect. I'm pretty sure that's it, though. And yeah, this is a contemporary romance fairy tale retelling. It is technically also considered Christian contemporary romance because there are Christian elements in there. It's just lesser than some Christian novels, but it is in there. And this is a retelling of The Princess and the Pea, and in it we follow two main characters. We follow Chris. He is part of the Air Force, and then he gets relocated to Las Vegas, and he's attending like college. It's part of the program for him being in the Air Force. But yeah, he doesn't really want to be in Las Vegas, but he's just trying to get away from his overbearing family and his like ex-fiance, who basically she ditched him because he joined the Air Force because she's a real winner. I did not like her. But anyways, he then gets a kind of like a college guide, she kind of turns into like his tour guide for the city too, in Skylar. Skylar she's trying to get through her college classes, but she's having difficulty with just staying focused, staying together. She has ADHD, and she's just kind of all over the place and never, like, I mean, she's responsible, but she's just scattered. So for the hospitality courses she's taking in college, she is joined up with this program in the college with the Air Force, which is how she meets Chris to be his guide and stuff, and they strike up a friendship, unlikely friendship at that, and yeah, it is just their story from friends to becoming more, and I super enjoyed this book. I gave it 5 stars. Skylar is an absolute riot. She is so fun. Yeah, I really liked her. I also really related to her in her just saying yes to people for certain things, even though it's like, that's probably not the best thing you should have done. Like, it's not the safest for you. It's not necessarily good for you or your mental health or anything like that to just constantly try to do things that everybody else wants you to do, even though you probably shouldn't. I'm not as bad as Skylar is, but I can be that way sometimes, and it's very subtle. So yeah, sometimes I miss it in myself, so it was very refreshing seeing that reflected back at me through Skylar, and also kind of through Chris too, because they definitely go through a lot of growth. Their romance is super cute. I really love it. I really also liked the Christian elements of just both of the characters becoming who God wanted them to be and stuff. There's not a lot of faith topics. It is just mentioned in there, and like they go to church and they both believe and stuff like that, and they're trying to follow God's will and stuff, but that's pretty much it. I really liked how the author used her kind of fantasy knowledge of world building to expand Las Vegas into like a place that I could actually feel and be a part of and stuff like that, even though I've never been to Las Vegas before, and I don't really have any intention to, but yeah, it felt like a real actual place, because a lot of times, especially in contemporary, the places that people are in, it just feels like a backdrop for like their lives, and that's more the focus. But this one, she managed to make Las Vegas come alive to like a fantasy world, and yeah, I really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed this whole book. Yeah, I really, really loved this book, and I would highly recommend it. I gave it 5 stars. Okay, the last 2 books I have to talk about today. The first one is Bound by Knighthood by Nikki Chapelwhite. This is part of the Starry Kingdoms of the Fae series. These are like standalone novellas told or written by different authors. And I love Nikki Chapelwhite's books, so I just bought this one right away. Bound by Knighthood, we follow Willow. She is a fae who's been living among humans her whole life, and she is going to go to this academy in the sky that trains knights who will then serve a powerful fae lords, yeah, or just high fae. I think they can be ladies too, but whatever. These knights will train to serve these high fae, and in return for their services, the fae will grant them it's not really a wish, but they'll grant them something. And so Willow wants to do this. She wants to become a knight, first of all, but she also wants to get more powerful magic, because as a fae, she's born with magic, but it's pretty weak. So she wants to get more powerful magic. Her main reason for doing this, though, she wants to be sort of like better than Byron, who is also going to this academy. They weren't really friends. They just grew up in the same village together, and he has like powerful magic. He's a human. He has powerful magic. He has like the adoration of the villagers and stuff, and she's kind of jealous of him, and she just wants to beat him in this thing. She's totally a rival towards him, and he doesn't even realize it. It is their journey and adventure to going to this academy to become knights, and, well, there might be a little hiccup in there of, you know, what if they actually fall in love? And yeah, I really enjoyed this book. Nikki Chapaway is one of my favorite authors, so I wanted to get this book right away when I heard about it. And yeah, I definitely would say she does better with longer books as well, kind of like Brittany Fisher. So yeah, I still really enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 stars. This is kind of like a rivals to lovers type story, so enemies to lovers, rivals to lovers, and pretty much the rival end is only on Willow's end. Byron basically treats her, you know, like a decent person and stuff like that, and he even likes her and stuff, but she's just all kind of like, I don't like you, I'm just trying to beat you everywhere, and he's just like, what? I didn't even know this was a thing. So yeah, there is a bit of that going in there. Their romance might be a tiny bit fast, but I mean, it's a novella, so you kind of have that in there, but since they kind of grew up together and stuff like that, I was able to overlook it a little bit, so it did feel a tiny bit rushed. However, the author is going to be continuing their story. She is going to be writing a novel that is going to be called To Slay a Knight Boldly. That is going to be, I don't know when it's coming out. It might be coming out next year. But yeah, and so I feel like she can expand on their relationship and these characters and the knighting, because there's like different knight guilds, knighting guilds and stuff like that. And I'm really interested in this world she has created. She has created such fantastical worlds in all of her fantasy settings. They're all just so real feeling, and yeah, I just really enjoy her books. I really enjoyed this one, even if the romance did feel a bit quick, but I also chalk it up to the length of the book. So yeah, but yeah, I still really enjoyed it, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the novel that'll be coming out, because I really want the expansion of their relationship and stuff, and just their characters overall, and this world. And I mean, there's also a dragon flying carriages. I mean, who wouldn't like that? So yeah, really, I would really highly recommend this book. So, it's really beautiful on the inside too. I'll show you an example. There's artwork. So for each chapter, the artwork's the same. So like when you go to chapter 2, it's the same one, because this is the artwork that's on the hardcover version. So yeah, well, at least when they first released it, it was on the laminate hardcover version, but I don't know if it stays that way, but yeah. But yeah, so I really like how they designed the inside of this book. And the last book I have to talk about today is the start of another superhero series. We've heard this all before in the last 2 that I started and still haven't completed. And that is Reformed by H.L. Burke. This is the first book in the Supervillain Rehabilitation Project series. This is also her first series in her superhero universe series. Have I now started 3 of these series? Yes. Have I completed any of them? No, but we're not going to talk about that. Anyways, this one, we're going to be talking about Prism. She is, basically, wants to restart her father's, like, canceled program of the Supervillain Rehabilitation Project, where they take supervillains and they kind of rehabilitate them into, superheroes and working, you know, not being supervillains. But, so yeah, that kind of went under years ago and stuff, so she's trying to revive it, and her first project is Fade, who was her father's first project in this, or maybe he wasn't her father's first project, but he was someone her father worked with and rehabilitated back then. The catch is Fade apparently, like, relapsed back into a villain several years ago, and he, like, just supposedly killed off this entire lab full of people and stuff. He released this gas that was harmful to people, and he supposedly did it on purpose. However, he doesn't remember the situation, because in order to basically keep himself from getting executed, they gave him the option, when this first happened, they gave him the option of you either get executed, or we wipe your memory and you just have to live in a detention facility for the rest of your life. So he chose to have his memories wiped of the event. So kind of as a test run to see if that would, keep him from relapsing into being supervillain again. And then things start going around, these crimes start happening again. They're eerily similar to that chemical lab thing that Faye did back in the day, except he's not the one doing it now, so what is going on? And things go from there. I really enjoyed this book. It's very much... First of all, it's very much like almost starts out as almost like a slice of life. It's just with superheroes. So yeah, the author definitely takes your time introducing you to all the characters, to their powers and how they work and stuff like that before throwing you into the action part of the story. So it balances very much like slice of life with action very, very well. I really liked all the characters. I really liked how Prism is very much... She's very much an optimistic and idealistic person. I really liked how her trust in people was seen as a good thing, because a lot of the times in books, if somebody's like idealistic or something, it's like the author feels like they have to trust people that then betray them or something, so then to like knock the person down a few pegs and be like, oh, you shouldn't trust your intuition or your feelings about these people. And, you know, sometimes you shouldn't. But I really liked how the author was very positive about the fact that, yes, Prism has this intuition about people sometimes, and it's always right. And I really liked the kind of, what's the word? Kind of her, what's the word I'm looking for? I really liked how she just showed that as a positive thing, and not just as a negative thing for people like me who feel that way about certain people, where it's just like, you know, because I'm an empath, so my feelings about certain things and my intuition are very important to me in determining things. So yeah, having that and in another character and it being shown as positive was really helpful for me. And yeah, I really liked especially also the questions around like Fade and what he did, and did he actually do that thing back then or what? Because we're kind of given an unreliable narrator, so to speak, in that sense, because Fade can't remember, but he thinks he did it, but he also can't remember to double check on himself, and then other people think he did it, and Prism's just like, things don't add up. This guy, the way he's acting, wouldn't have done this horrible thing. And so yeah, there's a whole mystery around that, and yeah, it was really, really good. I also didn't guess the villain in this one. That was shocking to me, because I kind of fell into one of the author's red herrings of thinking it was this other person. Props to the author for that one, for managing to trick me, because generally I think I read so much, and I also, as a writer, I think I see this stuff. Most of the time I can see it, or I can at least guess and be like, it's probably this person, and end up being right. But yeah, this one totally blindsided me, and I thought that was cool. So yeah, and I gave this book 4 stars. Alright, so those are all the books I have read somewhat, sort of, fairly recently. Let me know down below in the comments if you guys have heard about any of these books or read any of them, your opinions on them, or even just what you're reading right now. I always love hearing from you guys and answering your comments. As always, thank you so much, guys, for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. Bye!